All right, so okay, this is an interesting one to begin this off with. We got the One Piece movie 5, I believe. Yeah, movie 5 because 4 is the other one here. So we watched 3 of the One Piece movies way earlier in the year. I think it was like January. Something I want to note, by the way, if I seem a little like I'm making mistakes with animes, that is because almost all of these I watched during the first half of the year. There's a few of these, like I did watch later on in the year, but most of this was early on in the first half of the year. The first half of the year, I was watching a lot. Like I have a bunch of like not finished stuff too that we'll get to as well, and I'm gonna add in after. And it's kind of that same thing of yeah, it falls into that same category. Of like most of it was during the first half of the year, and that's kind of why I haven't finished them, because this second half I haven't been feeling anime as much. Granted, I have been slowly getting back to it, because I caught up with like One Piece. I started up JoJo today, again. Started up, more like watched 2 episodes. But you know, I got back to part 6 essentially, early part 6. But yeah, a lot of this has been the first half of the year. So apologies if I make mistakes on things because of that. But yeah, that is what I wanted to mention before we got into this. I almost forgot that, but the movie kind of reminded me when I mentioned the first half of the year. But anyways, ranking this movie, it was actually okay. This movie I thought was going to be weird. I thought it was going to have some weird thing to it. And I was mistaking it for another one, which was the Chopper one, which still wasn't that bad. But this movie was interesting and actually kind of cool the way they went about things, they did things, had an interesting threat to it. It had really, really cool elements, and it wasn't like phenomenal or anything. But as you guys can tell here, I have like 10, 9, and 9, 9.5/9, and I'm going to mention what's what here as I rank them. The reason I did it this way is that I don't want a long list of like 9.5, 9, 8.5, 8, because we do have a 6 in here. There is a 6 in this grouping, unfortunately. I don't give a lot of animes a 6. Or, yeah, it's very rare that I do stuff like this. But, yeah, that did happen. So, yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to just mention what they are. Sorry, I'm getting a little rambly, and I'm going to stop doing that. Try to. But this would be a 7.5. So it's in the higher echelon of this tiering. Like I said, it was very interesting. It's called the Cursed Sword. As you can imagine, it's a sword that's cursed. But the way that I kind of remember they went about the plot, and even when I watched it, I felt this way. I remember. It was really interesting and had a different, unique spin on like One Piece's plots. How it unfolded was very similar, but like it had its own like really unique spin because it's a non-canon movie, right? And I just really liked the whole aspect of Zoro knowing, you know, the main characters of that island, the main like 2, I think it was. It might have been 3, but I think it was 2. And like he has a connection with them, and now, you know, this cursed sword is doing shit to the island. And I of course, as I mentioned from last year's, I'm not gonna go into crazy detail because I don't want to spoil stuff. But so I'm just gonna be vague. But yeah, it was a really fun movie. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like it was pretty close to like an 8, honestly. It was pretty close. It was definitely in the higher echelon of the 7.5s because that was pretty good. Like, that was surprisingly good too. Anywho, next up, we got another movie. Yeah, as you can tell, there's a few movies on this list. Surprise. I say a few, and I only see like 3 actually, but or sorry, 4. No, wait, 5. Oh my god, I'm miscounting. Look at me doing Marley things. Yeah, but anyways. So, Berserk, the 3rd movie. Okay. So, the first movie was slow. Had a good ending. Had some other good, interesting parts, but it was slow. The second movie is really where it all picked up and was very, very consistent. And as I mentioned, like when I did this last year, it was very, very good. Yeah, I don't know how much this part was good. It was very good still. But I think for me it's the weakest of the 3. And the reason being is there was a lot of because this is separate because this is spread out into 3 movies, there was a lot of like downtime in this one, and like just more so like, oh, these subtle things that are going to lead up to what happens later in this movie, right? But it was so much downtime that it kind of just felt boring until it picked up. And when it picked up, it was crazy. I was kind of like, what the heck is going on, right? But half of the movie, or maybe even more than half, was kind of sitting around just like, they weren't doing too much, you know? So I think the fact that this is split up into 3 movies is that issue, whereas if it was like, you know, a season, maybe those parts would be sped up and wouldn't be as wouldn't drag on as much, but it did feel like they dragged on quite a bit. And with that, I do give this thing a 7, like just a solid 7. It's a solid 7. It's on the lower echelon of the 7. It's on the lower echelon of the 7s. So basically everything else that's going in there is probably going to be above it, most likely. I think that's going in that tier. Yeah. Anyways, I gotta stop saying that. Anohana, the flower they saw that day. I never watched this, and I decided at the beginning of the year to give this a shot. I don't know if it was January, February, whatever. But I was like, you know what? It's 12 episodes. It seems pretty good. I think I'm gonna enjoy it. And boy, did I enjoy it. That ending, though, did a good job of trying to make me cry. Oh, it's close. I get close on my first watches. Second watches after, I usually end up crying. Which, yeah. Granted, speaking of which, I actually did just notice we're missing a couple. So give me a second, quickly. We are missing a couple animes that are finished. Yeah, I forgot to put these. I forgot to put these in here. That's why. So these 2 are finished now, and I forgot to add them. That's what happened. Okay. Anywho, I thought it was weird that was missing. Yeah. Okay. It was a very touching show. It was a very touching show, and it's essentially about a group of friends. They, you know, drifted from each other because one of their friends passed due to an accident when they were young, and so they all kind of drifted apart. And it is more so about, you know, them reconnecting. You know, there's drama because they're fighting about the problems, how they felt in the past, how they feel now still, all of this. And then God, that ending. All I can say is God, that ending without spoiling, but that is an 8. That is an 8. That was a really good one. It's nothing crazy. It's just 12 episodes, but it's very, very good, very touching, and the characters are all very likable in their own way. Like, you enjoy all the characters and in their own way. I don't know if that made sense. I hope that made sense. They're all. It's really cool to see how they've, I guess, dealt with the trauma. Not cool to see. Sorry. It's nice to see like their development with how they dealt with the trauma and where they end up at the end of the show from there, from like the starting point. That's what I'm trying to say. My brain's here, but processing speed isn't the best right now. But that's okay. We're still doing this. Anyways, next one, we got the Jin-Rou movie. Jin-Rou. I watched this with a couple friends. You got to borrow a what's it called again? Things from elementary school. Gosh, such a long time ago. Projector. I forgot what it was called. Yeah, so we watched it on a like screen with it using a projector. It was kind of cool. It was really cool. Unfortunately, it wasn't that cool. This movie was weird. The concepts were cool. The action was really good. And the characters were interesting. The problem was the execution. Like, the execution was so messy and forced in some, maybe not forced, messy and like just scattered, that it seemed like they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with like the story itself. Even though the story was pretty easy to tell. It's like a Little Red Riding Hood. Whoa, scared me. So yeah, Jin-Rou. Yeah, it was just the execution and all this. It just, I don't know. It just felt like they were, like, the Little Red Riding Hood story was interesting. The action was cool. The concept was cool. It's just the execution of the entire thing was just really, really strange and all over the place. And yeah, unfortunately gets a solid 6 for that. This is the solid 6 of the list here. Don't worry, this is the only 6, guys, so we're good. But yeah, this is the only one I was like, yeah, I didn't really enjoy it that much, which is really unfortunate with the whole like setup, the cool setup with the projector and everything, but hey, happens, right? Still had good moments though. Pretty inconsistent. Very inconsistent. So just had to ban a streamer from his own stream. Oh no. Isn't that just a report button? I mean, what? Hey. God damn it. Okay, I do want to double check something quickly. This is... Okay, so this is the... Alright, this is this one. Okay. And then that means that the other one is the other one. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, I keep saying anyways. This is the only 6 disappointing. I listened to angry rants about something sucks. Fair. Fair. I honestly, with when it comes to anime, there's not a whole lot that I watch that I'm like about. Like there's problems I have with stuff, and I am going to express them. But when it comes to anime, I have a lot less animes that I dislike. In terms of like a 6 or something. Granted, 5 is still like average. 5 is still like 50-50, And I wouldn't give I could give Jin-Rou a 5. I've debated on it. It's just I did enjoy some pieces in the concept and other things, so I'm kind of like, nah, I don't think it deserves a 5. It's not 50-50 for me. It is a little more positive, just a smidge, but it's pretty eh. And maybe that would mean it's like a 5.5, but whatever. I don't know. I might change the way I rank it, right? So I might put it to like a 5.5 or something, whatever. But games, on the other hand, oh boy, I always have a lot more to say about games because I have a lot more problems with games than I do with animes. And and I feel like partially it's because, you're also playing them, whereas the animes have to just keep you hooked on the story while being very creative, where games have to do that while also keeping you, like, immersed in this world that you're playing physically. So when I get to the games part, you might hear me rant a bit. But yeah. Anyways, Burn the Witch. I really like Burn the Witch. It was really good. It gets an 8.5 from me. The reason it gets an 8.5 is because, in a sense, there's not a lot to go off of. So it's like I can kind of see where things could go. But obviously it's not there because it's only 3 episodes. This is only 3 episodes. But it was super, super good. God, I love that emote. But it was super good. Like, I really enjoyed it. You guys know how much I like Bleach. This is made by the same creator, and it was very, very solid for 3 episodes. Like, it was very good. The concept with dragons, with like, some of the dragons being the like most legendary, powerful, destructive dragons that are really hard to stop and could end the world, and I don't know if it's an end the world thing. I assume it is. But those ones are like, oh, they're named after fairy tales. Okay. Like, I think the one that's involved in these 3 episodes is, I think it was called Cinderella. And, like, its attacks are kind of like... Yeah, I don't know. It was very unique. The characters were actually really, really interesting in terms of, like, how did they make these characters so interesting in 3 episodes? Like, I was kind of just shocked at how much I liked this. And I really like dragons and the whole, like, ancient kind of, like, kings and queens vibe. And, witches are cool. They're not my favorite thing, but the witches in this are, like, honestly really cool. Yeah, this was one I really thoroughly enjoyed. And this sits around at the top of the 8 tier, so it's 8.5. Sorry, the 8.5 tier, because it's super high for me with just those 3. I cannot wait for more of this. Eventually we'll get more. I know it's kind of like a slow project. It's not even finished in the manga, I believe, either. So it's kind of just a slow project that, I think it's Kubo, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. Apologies if I'm wrong, if I'm naming the wrong one, the wrong mangaka. But yeah, he's just taking his time with it. So he'll get back to it eventually. We'll get more eventually. I'm just like, wow, that was really good. Apologies also. I kind of have food with me because I'm hungry. So I'm going to be eating a bit while I do this. I meant to mention that. Alright, next up. The next One Piece movie. What was it called again? One Piece Dead End Adventure, I think. Dead End Adventure. I think that's what it was. I can't remember. Anyways, we're putting it here. It's not too far above the Berserk movie. Honestly, I'm debating actually if I want to put it below the Berserk movie or not. I think I'm going to keep it above. This sits at the bottom with Berserk, though, of this 7 tier. So I give it a 7. Around at the bottom, and it's kind of... It really sucks. Not the movie. Well, part of the movie does, actually. Because it's like, for anybody who's watched Stampede, It's like One Piece Stampede, similarly. And it does a really, 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 really good job at the first half of the movie. Like, crazy good job at, like, introductions to characters who are important. And just showing you what's at stake. And keeping you, like, pulled in and immersed in, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? And then the second half of the movie kind of flops. This is before Logias were kind of fully figured out. So the villain's a Logia. And this is movie 4, so that might tell you a bit as well. Like, I think this was recently after Alabasta too, so yeah. Because I think Robin was in here. I might be wrong, actually. She might not. No, I believe so, yeah. But it's so... They didn't know what to do with Logias. Kind of made up their own shit with that. And it was kind of just pretty blah. The villain seemed super interesting in the first half, and then... Yeah, then he wasn't afterwards. The whole chase for this treasure in the first half was so cool. And it kind of just... at the second half. Like, it was all a trap. And it kind of just, like... The movie just really, really, really fell off hard. And I still give it a 7, because it's like, it still was very good for the beginning parts. And, well, the ending parts weren't as good. Absolutely not. There were a couple things that were really nice, and also I believe I did like the character that was involved, like the character that was involved for the movie, that wasn't the villain, the main character that was involved for the movie. And it was interesting, and I liked what they did, but it's just... It kind of falls into that, like, Jin-Rou category of, like, man, that execution was bad. The concept and everything was so good, and the execution was bad. And it makes me kind of look at Stampede like, no, Stampede's pretty good. It's a fun, simple movie. It does what this does and just keeps it simple. Keeps it good. It doesn't try to do anything crazy. But yeah, I think I still enjoyed it more than Berserk, because Berserk was really, really, like, dragging on for so long. Like the third movie, so. So next up we got Dorohedoro. I'm probably gonna put that one... It's an 8. I'm just trying to figure out... I think it's above Anohana. Yeah, I think it's above Anohana. Anohana? Anohana? Yeah, Anohana. I don't know. Right, it's a flower we saw that day. There. I fixed it. Dorohedoro was really fun. It's a little bit gory. Or maybe a little bit's understatement. But it was really cool with the concept of... They introduced this really early, so I'm going to say it. Of like, oh, you have the normal world that's been mucked around and messed with because you have these magicians. Was it called magicians? Wizards? Sorcerers. I think they were sorcerers. Yeah. Okay. I was like, it's a word that's like those. It means the same thing, basically, but yeah, I think they were called sorcerers. But you have these sorcerers who, like, mucked up that world. So, like, the main guy is a little mucked up. He's a lizard. Lizard. He's a lizard man right now. It's just only his head. But yeah, it like gets mucked up and everything, and the sorcerers have like their own world, and there's like they make contracts with demons and stuff, and I think the people in the human world can do that too, but a lot of them are messed up because of what the sorcerers have done. and all this, and it gives you this like interesting kind of concept, and then rolls really well with it because they're trying to figure out who did this to the main guy called Kaiman. So the whole thing is the chase for that, and yeah, it's a really fun show. It's interesting. It's goofy and silly. The opening especially shows that, but it's also really cool, and I can't wait for more. It's definitely a really fun show, and I think it could go up if when more seasons show up. It would have to do a bit more for me, but it's definitely very, very good so far in terms of just how everything has played out. Next up, we got my Dress Up Darling. So this one's a hard one to rank. It's I don't know if I said, but I guess I kind of technically said because I was trying to decide if it was above or below Flower we saw that day for Dorohedoro. I mean, but obviously it's also an 8. Dress Up Darling is also going to be an 8. I'm just also trying to figure it out. I think I'm going to put it here. It's definitely below Dorohedoro. So I do think, because I was unsure at first, that's probably a good spot for it. So my Dress Up Darling was really fun. You guys know I love my romance animes, absolutely, and it's a very, very good romance. And oh my god, the main girl is just a treat. She's just a treat. She's great. She's fantastic. And I loved her character and everything. The whole dress up thing, because she wants to be a cosplayer, and the main guy knows how to sew and all this, like, super duper well. It kind of ends up getting them together, and they have these moments, not together like together, but together as in, like, they're always spending time with each other. And then they have these moments of, like, too close. And it's a very sweet, fun romance anime, while trying to just be a fun thing because of cosplays and stuff. My biggest gripe with the thing, though, and I'm gonna say this because I need to say this. My biggest gripe with this is the fan service is a little too much. Like, it's fine if there's a bit, in the sense of it's how do I put this? It's fine if there's a bit and it's like it's not really focused towards the audience. It's more focused towards, hey, the main guy who, it's kind of like a romance anime. So someone like him is going to be, he's a young guy, so someone like him is going to be like noticing that stuff. He's young, and they do a good job at that sometimes, but sometimes the fan service goes too far where it's just randomly there, and sometimes they do too much of that where it feels like it's a little too focused with that. And I know I was saying that kind of slow and weird, but that's kind of my main issue with it. It's a bit too, it leans too much in the fan service towards that guy that sometimes it feels like it's a bit, it's somewhat forced fan service. And just trying to make things happen with that fan service, because it doesn't always need to be fan service that makes something happen. A bit of it's fine. It kind of is real life that way. If it's a bit, it's fine, but it's definitely oversaturated with it, and that is my big problem with it. Because if that wasn't to that amount, this would probably be an 8.5 at least. And I would have probably already watched the second season by now, and I didn't watch it yet. So that kind of tells you how much that does hold me back a bit. Granted, I will still get to it, but the second season will probably decide for me, okay, how do I feel about this show exactly? Did it do better? Did it do worse? Yeah, the fan service is just a bit much there. It's a bit understatement, but yeah. Scourge! How's it going, man? Welcome in. Sorry, I was actually... you literally came in as I finished talking about my dress-up darling. That's funny. That's funny. Granted, with a lot of shows, though, usually the first season, I need more. I need more than one season of stuff. So that's also why a lot of these are like, oh, like Burn the Witch, Dorohedoro, My Dress Up Darling. It's like I can't fully rate them yet. I can rate what I've seen, but I can't fully rate them yet in terms of how much I'm actually going to like it because there's still more to come, right? And I need that more. I just scratched my arm. Ow. Jabbed my arm with my fingernail. Good job, Marley. Nah, you're fine, man. I figured you wanted to hear about my dress up darling, but I just finished. Literally, I was just saying I like it. Too much fan service, but I like it. It's not necessary. It's very forced, some of it. But yeah. You absorbed in 2.5. Sorry. Fair. Yeah, I saw you were playing Zenless. So 5 hours earlier, so. Alright, next up. My Happy Marriage. This is a fun one. My Happy Marriage is very fun. You heard a few things. Okay. It's a fantasy romance. So, okay. This is the first season. And this first season does this first season is really good for the main girl. Like, really, really good for Mio. I love her. She's a sweetheart. And she didn't deserve what she went through. Just for those who know, she does not deserve that shit. But I really liked the show. My Happy Marriage was very fun, very good. It essentially, it's like old-timey Japan and, you know, a lot of engaged marriages for this reason, that reason, this reason, that reason. Oh, absolutely, Scourge. Marin is the best girl of the series. I wouldn't say she's the best girl in life, but she's absolutely, like, one of the best. Like, she's definitely way up there. Wait, is it Marin or Marin? No, I think it's Marin. Yeah, it's Marin. I have to remember. Yeah, she's great. But yeah, My Happy Marriage. It had a very, very strong start in terms of the first, like, 6, 7 episodes. It had a very strong start. The latter half fell off for me for season 1. It was still good, don't get me wrong, but it just wasn't as strong as, like, it wasn't as strong, as essentially putting it that way. So, my problem with the show, and more specifically season 1, because season 2 felt like it worked better, but we'll get to that. Season 1 felt a little... the fantasy, elemental, superpowered elements of the show, of this romance fantasy, kind of felt forced a lot of the time in season 1. They kind of felt like they didn't belong there a lot of the time. It worked for, like, Mio, the main girl, as I was saying, but for the rest of them and, like, the entire story as a whole, I'm like, you probably could have came up with something else and not had the fantasy aspect of these powers and everything. Like, it felt not right, forced at times, and just that way. But I love these two, Mio and Kudo. They're great together. They're sweet together. And she's just the sweetest thing. And I do love their whole relationship a lot. So there's that as well. But yeah, that definitely holds season 1 back the most for me. Then we got Burn the Witch, 0.8, I think it was called, or whatever. I am gonna put it under My Dress Up Darling. It's just a singular episode as a prequel to Burn the Witch. So Burn the Witch has like 4 episodes technically. It was a good prequel. It did similar things to Burn the Witch, but the parts that, like the main one, the parts of, the normal Burn the Witch as opposed to the prequel didn't have some of the really cool stuff and concepts as much. As the 3 episodes, because they only had 1 episode to work with. But still, Burn the Witch was fun. Like the prequel, I mean. It was still nice, and it was still cool to see, oh, okay, so this is how they started, this is how they met this guy, all of this. So, and this is how things happened in terms of how, like, the normal series of Burn the Witch started. So, yeah. But that was good. And, yeah, I only give that one an 8, as I said, because unlike Burn the Witch's 8.5, the prequel of Burn the Witch is just an episode prequel that shows enough and doesn't do too much because of it. I haven't been keeping up with anime, so you never heard of My Happy Merch. It's a fun one. It's I think it came out like a while back, like 2019 or something, or 2020 or something. Because I know the second season was already done when I watched it, and I know there's a 3rd one announced, so it's been a bit at least. Next up, yay, we got Panty and Stocking. Oh boy, this series. I'm gonna give this one a 7. This one gets a hard 7. It was fun. It was so much fun. It was crude. It was lewd. It was ridiculous. It was off the rails with everything. Whatever chance they had to joke about something, they used it. But then they were also crude and rude and lewd. And it was crazy. Oh, fuck, oh shit, oh dicks. Oh god. It was crazy. It was so much fun. I wasn't ready for that ending either. That ending was actually pretty good. So I am actually kind of excited to get to the new one, because, it's going to continue from where this one left off. Well, it's already done. I need to watch it. Oh lord. But Panty and Stocking was a treat. It's just a couple of rude, crude, and lewd angels who are selfish as hell, and they lost their angelhood and are trying to get it back by killing demons. But because they're such biatches, it ain't that easy. Yeah, there was a new one announced. It's already done, I think. Yeah, it's a continuation. It's a continuation of the first season. This season's like decently old too, which is surprising that we got one last year. We got a new one last year, but I'm like, okay, alright, cool. I plan to watch that this year, so look forward to me ranking it at the end of the year. At the end of 2026, or beginning of 2027, if it ends up like this again. But yeah, that was great. It was so fun. It just gets a solid 7 for me though, because it didn't do anything crazy, as I've been saying with some stuff. It's just a fun time. That's all it is. It's just a fun time. That's all it needs to be, and it gets a nice 7 because of that. One of the funniest shows you've ever seen. Yeah, it was really funny. Alright. Okay! These ones have to come up now. Okay. Alright, so I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna rank 2 immediately. Here are the top 2 of this entire list. Like, not even a question. Bleach Cour 3! Holy shit, I didn't think it could get better than Cour 1 after Cour 2 was fight focused, which I loved. I did mention this to my brother, and I said, you know what? If I consider the entirety of Thousand Year Blood War, the whole thing is a masterpiece at this point. It's just, they're split up into cores, so I'm ranking the individual cores themselves, and oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, no, I watched a dub. I watched Panty and Stocking dub. I watched Bleach sub. And ReZero, I've done both. But yeah, oh my gosh. I can't even remember the word my brother used for a certain part. The first half was really cool in terms of following where the second half ended. It had a lot of lore again, like the first core. It had a lot of action, and really, really good action, and it stepped it up from the first core. Like, a lot of the shit stepped up from the first core, and the intensity that it got to, the point, the highest point that it got to, the fights with some of the, what are they called again? The special Quincy's, whatever they're called. The fight with those guys were crazy. The vice captain stepping up was wild. I loved it. Finally, proving that they are next in line to be captains of their squad. Eventually. That shit was so good. Like, the absurdity of, the top Quincy's was ridiculous. And yet the vice captains still stepping up was crazy. And even the captains, the work they put in was also wild. And just, the fights were taking turns I couldn't believe. It felt like I was watching JoJo in terms of the shit they had to do to win. The crazy shit they had to figure out and analyze and do to win. It was wild, but it was great. And that second half too, exploring that whole area. Of course, I'm gonna be vague as I'm saying, was great as well. Because it was kind of like okay, we gotta figure out how to fix this and all this, and stuff with you Habaha was great too. Goodness, but that first half though, was probably my favorite part of that whole core still, because that first half with the whole, I'm not gonna say what it is because Scourge is in chat, but the first half with the whole place, the place we're talking about where they're at, crazy, loved it, absolutely wild, perfection fights and stuff, like. Holy, I didn't think it'd get better than Core 1. Okay, I'm gonna hop on to ReZero in a second because I also put it beside there. Because that's involving, I ranked ReZero last year, but that was involving the first half of Season 3, which is Arc 5. This time is involving the second half of Season 3, which is still Arc 5. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. I'm just gonna read Scourge's comment. There's some anime that I always believe should be watched the dub. Panty and Stocking was one of those. Absolutely. Best experience because there's so many American pop cultural references and toilet humor that just doesn't have the same magic when subbed. I mean, I find with a lot of animes that it can have the same magic and, in a way, sometimes very different magic that hits its own special place when subbed. But I do understand that sometimes there are some animes that just hit so much better in dub, and I do feel like, yes, Panty and Stalking is one of those ones. Oh my god, if you guys heard that, that was my shoulder cracking. Oh, goodness. Anyways, ReZero. Season 3, second half, Arc 5. Phenomenal way to end that. My god. The fights were wild. The fights were wild. The weaknesses of some of them were wild. The lore drops, the shit that happened, the insanity that happened throughout that entire second half was insane. And I can't even be vague because we're talking about the second half here. It's not like I'm talking about the first half where I could be a little vague with certain things. I don't want to be vague because at that point it's spoilers. So I'm not going to even be vague. I'm just going to say, holy shit, the entirety of it was amazing. And I cannot wait for Arc 6, which follows immediately after this. Like, now we're getting that this year. I am so stoked and so excited. Oh my gosh. Alright. Next up, we got My Happy Marriage Season 2. Alright, it goes above Season 1. So, they're beside each other right now, but I'm going to put this into perspective. My Happy Marriage Season 1 is a 7. Everything below that is a 7. My Happy Marriage Season 2 is a 7.5. I give the second season a 7.5. So that One Piece movie also has a 7.5. If I want to make it obvious, I do this because I already said this one has a 7.5, but this is the order. This is the proper order. Seasons 2 start. I didn't think it could top after, the first season slowed down. I didn't think it could kind of top the beginning of Season 1. It didn't. But it did a really good job at trying. Because the stuff with Lord Kudo's parents and Mio and this whole thing was really, really good. And yes, the whole power system did also help with getting Lord Kudo's mom to soften up to her a little bit. But I think they could have done it without the powers. As I mentioned, I think they could still do it without the powers, and there would be some other redeeming quality that makes his mother soften up to her. But his parents are really interesting. I really love their characters and how they interacted with Mio. In terms of, one of them really liking her, one of them kind of just seeing her as a lowly, servant, because that's how she still was acting at that point. And it was very nice to kind of see Mio's growth after the visit 4 episodes in. So that was awesome. That really stood out, and absolutely my favorite part of that season. Now, regarding the rest of the season, from episode 5 onward, it was really good. Unlike the first season, the powers started to feel less forced and all this, and felt like they actually fit more into the world. And Mio's powers and her thing, which I'm going to be vague about, not go into details, were very important to the story as a whole, which is great as well. And I actually really love how they incorporated the powers in this season, because it did make them feel more natural to the world itself, to this fantasy world. And the relationship between Mio and Lord Kudo, even though we didn't get to see as much of some of the other characters, was very sweet and very nice, and we got a lot more of them and their romance, which was really, really great too. So that's kind of why this one stands above the first season, as a 7.5, and the first season has a 7. And yeah, that's kind of why. Granted, as I said, I think my favorite part is still kind of the beginning of Season 1, but the beginning of Season 2 is pretty close to it. Those two were neck and neck, because both seasons had very strong starts. It's just the second season was very more solid in its all-around, the whole all-around season, whereas Season 1, there were pieces that felt a little more forced because of powers. And a bit of the ending, too. But, yeah. Alright, Blue Box. Oh boy. Yeah, I love Blue Box. I absolutely love this show. That anime was so good. I loved it. It is an 8.5, as you could tell. My goodness, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, to mention what it is, it's a romance anime. Yeah, another romance. Shocking. It's a romance anime, and it has a bit of sports on the side. It's not focused on the sports at all. The sports is used to give the romance more flavor. I don't know why I said it like that. But it essentially accentuates the romance. It makes the romance stronger. It makes it more powerful because the sports are used in a way that they want to, like the main guy, for example. I'm going to be vague, as I said, as I keep saying, but the main guy kind of uses his drive to get better as a way to prove himself worthy of the girl he really likes. So it's used to, like, strengthen the romance part of the show, which I love. The art is gorgeous, by the way. That is one of the most beautiful art styles, and, like, whoever made this, whatever animation team made this, I don't remember which one. You can look it up after if you want, but my goodness, is it gorgeous. It is beautiful. It is animated so beautifully, and I'm just like, what is this? I need this in my life. What is this anime? The stories, even with some of the other characters, are really, really interesting, because you get touches on, like, a different romance here and a different romance there. Like, one is subtle, and I'm like, oh, these two might end up together later. And then the other one is more so, yeah, these two are dating, and you kind of get to see a bit of the struggles with their romance. So there's, like, those two on the side, and then the main one is kind of like, it involves three characters in a sense, because the main guy likes one girl, someone else likes him. So it's a bit of it's not a triangle in a way. It's more so like a string. And it kind of just gets really interesting and has really touching moments. And honestly, there are a lot of times I kind of just felt very bad for some of the characters in terms of, like, damn, that hits hard, in the romance aspect. Another big thing about this one and why I love it, which I will also touch on another one that we're going to get to soon. It's very grounded. It is probably the most grounded romance I've watched. This felt so real, like real life romance. I was kind of, like, shocked at how real it felt. That's what a love triangle is, Marlz? No, trust me. No, it's not a love triangle, trust me. Maybe it is. Shut up. But yeah, it is, like, definitely the most grounded romance I've ever watched. Like, some romances try to go to certain lengths to do things, and it works, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. But this, as I was mentioning, feels so real. And I kind of love that. Having some reality in a show does make it connect with me a bit more, because it's like, it's not just all make-believe. There's still some realism that connects to you, and that's why I end up loving a lot of characters sometimes that is like that. Submit to you too. But yeah, I absolutely love Blue Box. 8.5 for me. Second season might even bump up to a 9. We'll see. But fantastic job. Like, absolutely amazing. Oh boy. Solo Leveling! No. Solo Leveling Season 2. Holy shit! I didn't think the show could get any crazier. I didn't think it could get more wild. Yes, me to you too, that's what I said. I didn't think the show could get crazy like it did, and holy hell. Like, I have to keep this very vague with this one, like, especially vague, like ReZero. But the fights and some of the other shit were bonkers. Like, some of the shit that happens, and I'm gonna be real with, like, one of the episodes almost made me cry too. I was pretty close. If not, I might have shedded, like, a tear or two. And the reason is, I know some people downplay the show a bit because they're like, it feels like a self-insert show. I disagree, and there's a big reason why I disagree. I do understand some of it, because it's a solo leveling thing, so it kind of feels like you could self-insert into that. But his character has so much more to him specifically with his situation And I know I might have talked about this last time, but with his situation and all this other stuff that's going on in the show, and I don't want to, be specific. Granted, I will be specific about one thing because it's mentioned in episode 1 of season 1, which is the whole thing with his mom being bedridden for 4 years, not waking up because of the whole the one disease that people are catching because of hunters, the hunter disease, exposed to too much of them, all this, and then he needs to make ends meet to pay for his mom healing, and he's like the weakest. And this is episode 1 of season 1, remember? And then also you have his sister, who he's paying for her school because she's still in high school. And he's not. So he's kind of like trying to push himself to the bone and everything for this. So it's kind of like this. He has his own situation going on and all this, like I mentioned last year with season 1, but I can get a little more in depth with it now because after watching season 2, no, it feels like some of the stuff that's happening, he could end up turning like evil at some point. Like he has a route where he could turn out evil at some point, and eventually he might turn back. But it's a lot of like, there's a lot of subtlety to some things that I notice, and I'm like, this makes this feel way less of a self-insert. Like it has a bit of it because of the whole leveling up system, but I would say that's the only portion that feels like a self-insert. Other than that, no, I absolutely disagree with all the story elements involved and subtlety involved. But yeah, season 2, phenomenal fighting and everything. It just gets a solid 9 for me. I'm not going to give it a 9.5. It definitely needed more time with other characters. I will give it that complaint. It still didn't give enough to some other characters. It gave some, but not enough. So it just gets a solid 9 from me. But it's still very, very good in terms of what it did and where it got to and the points it got to and like the touching moment that it had during the show too. Like the crazy points of this season 2 was ridiculous, and I am very much looking forward to season 3 as well. So yeah, of course, as I mentioned, I keep mentioning this, but I'm trying to keep it vague, just to remind everybody continuously, because it's like I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't watched, right? You just get my overall opinion with no spoilers, pretty much. Anyways, My Happy Marriage, the OVA. So this OVA is between season 1 and season 2. I'm actually going to rank it below season 1 as a 7 as well. It's a very nice and sweet OVA, and it did a good job. It's just one episode, 20 minutes, whatever. It was a sweet OVA, but that's kind of it. It didn't do anything crazy. It was just, I can't remember if it was a wedding or some ball or something. There was somewhere that they went, and it was just a fun little sweet thing. But nothing crazy. So it kind of just gets put there. Okay. So I was talking about how I loved Blue Box. Yeah, fragrant flower that blooms with dignity. I love this romance even more. It's also a romance. Haha. This is the other romance that I was talking about. This one is also very, very grounded. The characters feel very real as well. Not to the lengths of Blue Box, but very close. Like it's very, very, very grounded still. And it's about, I don't even want to say it because I don't even want to say episode 1 spoiler. So as I said, for the last couple I did, or the last one I did, I'm going to be stupid vague on this one, like very vague. But this romance is very beautiful, while also touching on a bit of both of their perspectives and their friends' perspectives as well. You actually get a lot of time with the guy's friends, and you sometimes get a bit with the girl's friends, but it is a little more focused on the guy, even though they're like both the main character. So you get a bit more of him and his friends, and those guys are bros. Those guys are absolute bros. Like, oh my god, they're absolute bros. This romance is amazing. It's beautiful. It's just 12 episodes, unlike Blue Box is like 24 or 25. And I absolutely cannot wait for the next season of Fragrant Flower. The ending was so beautiful. I don't even know how to describe it other than like I sat there and like I want these two to have the happiest life together. Like, holy shit. I love these two so much. These characters are amazing. Yeah, their characters are really, really amazing, and I feel like what really stands out is it does a good job at showing what just a lot of their viewpoints and perspectives are in this. Subtly sometimes, but they do a very good job at that. More so the guy, of course, because he's more of the main focus, but yeah, they touch on that super well. All right, next up, we got the Chainsaw Man movie, Reze movie. I'm going to put this between Dorohedoro. Yeah, I'm going to put this between... Actually, I don't know where I want to put this. Okay, I'm going to put it here for now, as an 8.5. So, it's the lowest 8.5 at the moment. I'm not sure if it stays here or goes up a bit. Because I do have Chainsaw Man as like my 8th favorite anime of all time. And this was really good. It's just hard because I think I need to watch it again, honestly. I definitely really need to watch it again. As you guys could probably tell, I'm being more careful with things that are like a second part. Like, or third part to something, because I don't want to spoil too much. Spoiling a little bit of like episode 1 of the first season of something is fine, but when you get to like this, it's like, you know? I don't know where I want to rank this movie exactly. I'm a bit mixed. I think I'd be happy and content. Actually, wait a minute. I forgot something. I did like Blue Box, sorry, more than Fragrant Flower. So those two switch around. They're both 8.5s, but they switch around. I completely forgot Blue Box is a bit higher for me. I don't know where I want to put this. I think I will... You know what? I think I'm going to put it at the top. I think I made that decision. Sorry, guys. It was something that I didn't actually have a full answer on. I knew it was an 8.5, but I didn't know exactly where it sat. Exactly where it sat. I am going to put it at the top. And the reason being is because I really loved... There's a bit of, like, a darker romance in this. And it's a nice change of pace as well, because, of course, I watch a decent amount of romance, and it's always very sweet and everything. And it has its own twists and turns, whatever you watch. But this, like, darker kind of romance that ends up becoming such a good romance as well, is really good. And a lot of the other stuff was very, very good. Reze, excellent character, and the ending was great. I loved that ending too. It did a very, very good job. I think my only gripe with this movie was when the Devil Typhoon came in. It was really, really quick to the point it was hard to keep up sometimes. So I do need to watch it again. But the movie itself was super, super good. It was super solid, very good, very Chainsaw Man. And, I mean, Chainsaw Man has a lot of dark elements to it, because it's a lot about, you know, how characters are dealing with the world and, you know, what's happened to them. They're just trying to live their life, right? So it still kind of feels a lot like that. And that whole, like, city mouse, country mouse thing was really good, too. So, yeah, I think I'll put it there. I think that's a good spot for it. Yeah. All right. And finally, Or not finally, sorry. And now we got DanDaDan Season 2. So, I'm actually going to put this above Reze arc. I'm pretty sure I gave this an 8.5. I want to double check quickly, because I know I'm not the greatest at just remembering. Oh yeah, I gave it that score 100%. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, it's something that I always got to check. DanDaDan Season 2, absolutely my favorite season of the 2 seasons so far. Of course, there's only 2, but the GG stuff, the stuff involving GG, his house, everything, is my favorite part. Like, that whole arc was my favorite part. That was amazing, with, like, Evil Eye and everything. That shit was wild and amazing. That lasted a long time. That lasted most of the season. And then we got the back half of the season, which back half, we're talking like 4 episodes involving the new guy and his nerdiness and the robots and other stuff again, aliens again. But even that part was very solid. I wouldn't say there's anything really holding it back for me. It's just there's not enough to go off of that makes it stand so high, but it's super, super good, super solid, and yeah, the whole thing with Evil Eye was amazing. I love that entire thing. That thing was so good. I would say the weakest part was probably like that whole training thing, because that was kind of whatever. But that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes the training stuff doesn't really hit as hard. But yeah, it was fun. It was still the same funniness while still being really cool with the whole yokai and aliens, and I just did an excellent job. And the cliffhanger was wild. That was a wild cliffhanger to pull. And the romance, by the way, between Momo and Okarun, the romance in this one, in this second season, got even better with some of the stuff they did. Now, granted, it slowed down at the end, but like when they had the chance, it really felt like it got better with its romance. I mean, the first season was still really good, but yeah, when they had the chance, the romance in this second season was very good as well. So that was great as well. Okay. All right. Okay. So I finished Violet Evergarden, and boy oh boy, 8.5. My gosh, Violet Evergarden is crazy. That episode 10 made me, my brother, and 3 of my friends, and one of them's already seen Violet Evergarden. Actually, so is my brother. All 5 of us were crying, silent and crying on that episode 10. Holy shit. I remember I mentioned I got like 7 episodes in and then we had to stop, so I finished, 8 to the end. We do plan to watch the movie at some point, which apparently is going to make us cry again, because the movie comes after this. So yay. But yeah, that shit's heavy. It is heavy, but it's so good. I will say, as heavy as it was, as good as it is, because like I've talked to this with one of my friends, and it's like I don't equate. I do agree with him that like just because you cried doesn't make it good. It makes it touching to you, but does that make it good writing? No, it doesn't. However, I think good writing will always absolutely make people cry. So there's that aspect to it, and this whole show is super consistent with all of that. It's good at making people cry, especially that episode 10, and especially that movie whenever I get to it, from what I understand. Because I was told about episode 10, and I was told the movie's just as bad, so I'm like, yeah, it's gonna happen. But yeah, Violet Evergarden is super good because it makes you cry, and other reasons as well, is what I'm trying to say. It's good for so many reasons because it's so heavy and just the importance of life sometimes in that. And Violet as a character, I love her. Her becoming this monotone robot fighting machine. She's not a machine, she's just a girl, but she's like a machine, and then she goes from that to actually learning what life is, because it's learning. This whole show is about learning the meaning of life and what life is, because she's trying to understand what love is. So she's also trying to learn about life and like humans and stuff. Like it's a little bit like Fragrant in that way. Not as much about the life portion and humans, but more so about, you know, what's love. But it also, trying to figure that out also comes with understanding how people work, how they function, and also understanding humans and life. So it is still kind of that. It still has that in there, but is more so about understanding what love is. And her character growth is crazy. Going from that machine, fighting machine, killing machine, to this sweet girl that just wants to make people happy. I'm just like, dude, I can't. Oh my gosh. She's amazing. The show's amazing. You should watch it. And get ready to cry at episode 10. Oh my gosh. Yeah, 8.5 for me, easily. Easily 8.5. It's an 8.5 because, of course, right now, it's just kind of like, it is still a bit slice of lifey, as I said. I'm not crazy about slice of life in terms of like, I do like the more creative stuff, but it does a very, 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 very good job with what it does. And because of that, it's like, yeah, it gets an 8.5 from me, which a lot of this other stuff has gotten too, right? There's not a lot I hold to like the peak. There's only 2 peaks here for me in this entire list. So, yeah, that. I'm going crazy, but, you know, Violet is crazy. Violet Evergarden's insane. Alright, and last one that I finished is Summertime Rendering. So I remembered I mentioned that I didn't get to finish it and everything, and it was good. And where it was at was really, really strong and really good. Yeah, so I'm going to slap it here. I thought it was going to go up. It kind of went down. It went down. The entirety of Summertime Rendering, as I was talking about, was very, very solid. Very strong, very good, very just... Wait, why did my screen... What? My screen was bigger than that. What happened? Oh. Oh, dang it. Huh. Weird. That's okay. Yeah, it looks like my screen shrunk. Did I not... Did it shrink at some point? Because I had it like... I swear I had it differently than this. I don't know. That's whatever. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, so Summertime Rendering, it started off very, very good. And it kept me on the edge of my seat throughout, like, basically the entire thing. The mystery, the what's going on, the whole thing with the shadows. Which, of course, being vague about. Granted, I give it just an 8. And the reason it gets an 8 and not a higher number was because the ending... Not the ending itself, but the final, I guess, battle kind of flopped a lot of the show. In terms of it kind of like... With being vague, it kind of felt a bit forced and like they didn't know what to do a bit with certain elements. And so they just kind of had this simple, easy to figure out thing that happened. The plot twist that happened. And it kind of just... It was kind of just... with the final battle. It felt so forced and like you didn't need to go to this extent. Because it shouldn't involve the world when everything's been happening on this island. It should involve just the island itself. Or if you want to make it involve the world, do more with the world throughout the show. Like, you have to pick, right? Like, you can't just say the world when it's involved this entire island and it doesn't feel like it should be to that magnitude. It feels more forced, you know? And yeah, there's just that whole ending, like, battle kind of thing with the plot twist itself as well was a bit messy. That is my big problem. That is what holds Summertime Rendering back. But the entire show was worth the watch. It was really good from start to almost finish, and the actual ending itself. Bad climax really hurts the ending. Yeah, the climax is essentially what I'm talking about. The climactic ending, but the actual ending after everything is said and done, and the final villain is defeated. The actual ending itself was probably one of my favorite endings in like an anime so far. Now, granted, that's also saying I haven't seen any of the animes. I haven't seen any of the endings from any of my favorite animes because they're still ongoing. So, I do absolutely believe that one of those will become my favorite endings. But in terms of that's not the case right now. This had one of the best endings I've seen in an anime that isn't my favorite animes because they're not done. Or, well, I haven't read their ending either. Because I plan to read Love is War's ending. Yeah, we could talk about that another time. But I'm planning to read some of the other ones, right? So, and Bleach is going to finish this year, right? So, like, I'll see its ending and it'll probably become, like, my favorite ending, all this, right? But, still, as of right now, it has one of the best anime endings I've seen. That isn't my favorites. Like, my absolute favorites. So, that was a very good ending still. So, at least it had that going for it, so the entire ending didn't flop. It's the main climax of the ending that flopped pretty hard. But that's okay. The entirety of the show was so good that it still held up enough. Even if the ending wasn't beautiful, it still would probably be an 8. It might have dropped down to 7.5, but it would still probably be an 8. Like, the entire show did a very good job. With its twists and turns, too. Alright, so that's done. That is the list of the animes I've watched 2024. That's what I've done. I honestly might separate these a little bit, and we could scroll up and down. But I do also want to add the stuff that I'm not finished, because I started some stuff, and I haven't finished them. And my cat's being silly. I'm just kind of waiting for it to... Okay. So, well, started some stuff and continued some stuff. So, first one on the list. I haven't finished Naruto. But, I do know, because I checked our messages and I was trying to figure out, okay, when did I get to this? And I know I didn't talk about Naruto last year either. But we finished, like, tuning exams and all that. And the thing that follows that, like, involves the tuning exams. Being vague. So, that was very, very good. If I had to rank the show right now, I'd probably give it a nice 7.5. No offense. I just, like, I need more. I'm sure the story's going to get crazier and other stuff. I'd give it like a 7.5. I think 7.5 is more reasonable, because I definitely did like the tuning exams a lot. And it definitely did help step up everything. But I have some, like, things that I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about some of this yet, and I think I have to see later down the line where things go to know how I feel about the entire show, of course. I'm just mentioning, hey, right now, that's where I put it. It's not finished. That's it. It's not finished. It's in not finished. It's literally in not finished. But if I have to give it a number right now, 7.5. This is what I did last year, and I'm going to do this with all of these. Okay, well, most of them. Because Hitman Reborn, I watched that. I've only seen, like, 5 episodes. It's a goofy, funny thing. He's supposed to be the next, like, mob gangster boss. Mafia boss. and he gets this like crazy strength and power because of this little guy called Reborn, and he shoots him with like this gun, so he dies and gets reborn, and he's like, I'm strong now. It's so silly and goofy. I've only watched 5 episodes. It's a shonen. It's going to get crazier later. It's just I've only seen 5 episodes, and I honestly, 5 episodes, can't really rate that. Naruto, I'm like 60 in. I can give it a bit of a rating now, right? So, I'm watching that. Megalobox, though, was really good. It's a boxing anime. I think we only watched like 2 or 3 episodes, but it was really good. Because it involves like a bit of a difference with boxing. Like, it's not just like normal boxing. They had these, as you might be able to tell from the image, there's like this mechanical piece to it, and they box with like mechanical pieces on their arms. So I'm not essentially sure how that works because we only watched like 2 or 3 episodes, but it was really good and really interesting. The whole concept was very different from what I've seen from some sports animes, and I haven't watched too many sports animes, but like I've seen Rocky and other stuff, and I'm like, ooh, wait, this is really cool. Like, this is really different. Okay, I like where this is going. The main guy's really cool too, and like, he's kind of like this bum. Of course, I go AFK when I talk about Naruto. Of course. But yeah, he's living in like a, crappy kind of area and stuff, and like he wants to go to the boxing championship and everything, and prove he's the best. And the best one comes in and beats him up, but he sees the potential because he's like, wait, this kid's putting up a fight, and he's like, come and fight me in the actual ring, please. I want to fight you in the actual ring. Like, it's pretty simple, but it's the way they go about their characters that made it so interesting to like another degree. Okay, so right, I was saying about Naruto. I was like, after the tuning exams, so Naruto is the only one here of the not finished that I'm giving. Well, actually, no. There's 2 I'm giving a ranking to, and the rest I'm just ordering them in terms of how much I've enjoyed them. So like Megalo, I enjoyed more than Hitman Reborn, right? So far, with the few episodes I've seen of both. But Naruto, and there's one other that I'm going to actually give a number 2 at the moment. But this is before finishing them, right? So with the tuning exams done, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like the part before the tuning exams, and I wasn't huge on the beginning. There's a lot of stuff I'm still unsure about how I feel, but I think that's also because there's stuff later that's going to happen that's going to make some of the stuff now even better, because there's, with a lot of these longer shows like Bleach, I've seen it happen in Bleach, I've seen it happen in One Piece especially, with a lot of like foreshadowing and stuff that's going to happen later down the line. I give Naruto a 7.5 for me. Right now, it gets 7.5 for where I'm at, because the tuning exam was very good. So was the arc before. The beginning, bleh, I really didn't like the beginning, as I've told you before. But it gets a 7.5 because there's a lot of stuff that obviously still has to happen, but where it's at, it's pretty good, right? So it's pretty good. Like, I wouldn't say I'm absolutely in love with it, and that's why it gets a 7.5. But pretty good. That's what I said. There you go. There's your recap. Grand Blue Adventure. This show was hilarious. I watched 1 episode, and I was like, dude, this has such ridiculous humor, and I didn't watch more, and I should have. I know there's, like, a decent amount of fan service in it, from what I even noticed from the first episode, but, like, it doesn't matter because it uses it as comedy. It's using a lot of it as comedy. And these are all like college kids as well. Like college students as well. So it's not as like odd either. And then no prob. And then it's like, man, the comedy in this, it just like, dude, it hits you. It surprises you with some of the stuff it does. It was so funny, and I can't wait to finish this and talk about it next year. Or, well, at the end of the year, I mean, I guess, technically. Ranking of Kings, I started that up. The first couple episodes were pretty interesting. I already really like some of the characters. The main guy in particular. The main, I guess, kid, because he's a kid. His mom seems pretty sweet, but I don't think she's around. I don't know. But it's pretty interesting so far. I've only watched 2 episodes, as I said, so not a lot has happened. But so far, it's like pulling me in. It's doing a good job at pulling me in. Now, I am ranking these in terms of how I feel about them all at the moment. So next up, we got Dangers in My Heart. I honestly don't know how much I feel. Like, I watched 2 episodes of this. It was good. It's a romance again. But I only watched 2 episodes, so I don't really know where it's gonna go, what it's gonna do, and all that. So I do need to watch more. I have nothing really to say about it. But it seemed interesting in terms of the girl. Kind of seems like she's going to be a great character. She's just a glutton. And then the guy's kind of just this shy kid, but he seems to care. And she's just like, she's told she can't eat stuff. She can't go and eat She can't go off and eat snacks. She does it anyways. Yeah, it's silly. This is the other one I can give a ranking to. Maid Wars. I give it a 7. And I give it a 7 because it's just a fun show. It's just a fun. So it's maids, but imagine all the maid associations are essentially part of like their own mafia. So that's essentially what it is. It's a fun, goofy show that does silly shit, and it also tries to be serious sometimes. And I swear, hearing like the girl with the deepest voice go, because it's called Oinky Doink Cafe, right? But the way they say it in the sub is like dun da cafe, right? So you hear like dun da dun da. It's such a serious, monotone, deep girl voice, and me and my friend cannot take that shit seriously. It just makes us laugh every fucking time. Oh my god. Dangers of My Heart is a romance. Yeah. Oh wait, you're saying shocker. Oh. Yeah, it's just so funny. It's just funny maid mafia show, but it's fun. It's fun. It's definitely worth a watch. Then we got Zombieland Saga. I'm actually really, really enjoying this one. Unlike Maid Wars, well, okay, Maid Wars, there is some depth to some of the characters, but not a whole lot, because it is more slapstick mafia, maid mafia comedy stuff. Zombieland Saga has a lot of comedy behind it, but then they also kind of have, but they have a lot more to their actual characters, because all of them died at one point, right? So they all have their own, they're all from like different eras in time, and then they all have their own like backstory of, you know, how they died, and I guess their regrets as well. So I haven't watched too much of it either. I've only watched a few episodes, like 3 or 4. And the main guy's hilarious, the guy who's like banded them together to make this idol group, these zombies who pretend to be idols. It's so funny though. Some of the shit that happens is so fucking funny. And then we got To Be Hero X. I don't know how I feel about this one right now, but I'm only 2 episodes in. It was pretty cool, but the sites I was using at the time, which is why I stopped. I watched it when it first came out too, but the sites that I was using, the sub had weird translations. So I kind of stopped, and I did check with my friend because I was curious what he watched, and they did watch, like a couple of them did watch it, and they watched it sub. So I'm like, okay, I just probably had like weird translations for what I was watching, because of how quickly it came out for like whatever sites I was using, which isn't what usually happens, but it's okay. So that, but so far it's good, and I hear it gets really, really good once you get episode 4. Like you'll binge it once you get to episode 4. So I gotta get there. Thanks, Blazebot. Gotta get there. But yeah. So for the stuff unfinished, if I had to actually make a proper ranking, this is probably close to what I would put. Though I'm going to be honest, I apologize, but I'd probably put Naruto around here. Like, I kind of like the beginning of both Zombieland and Megalobox better at the moment, but there's a lot more to Naruto. Like, I would, if I was watching One Piece, I would be saying a similar thing. If I was watching Bleach, I'd be saying differently. Bleach picked up a bit faster for me. One Piece, yeah, no, it took a while. One Piece would be in the same boat. It'd be like, honestly, I could see myself putting One Piece a little lower if I was 60 episodes in. Like, damn. But if I consider the portion, no, it'd probably be around there-ish, right? Naruto does absolutely have a rough start. Like, I'm even considering putting it below, like, the next two, like Grand Blue, and I'm considering putting it here. Honestly, I might just leave it there. But it's kind of the impression and how I feel about all of this stuff right now. So it's kind of like Naruto goes here, or here, or here. I think here is actually a solid spot. I'm enjoying it, but yeah, no, it's definitely a rough start. Yeah, this is my list. This is my list. If you guys want specifics, I will do the specifics now. So I'm gonna do specifics. We're gonna add rows, and I'm going to change them because I didn't want to do this while I was ranking it because it's like it'll be so stretched out, right? Now I can do this, which is great. Could do this. Just gets a solid 6. And a row below 7. Green again. Okay, so if I have to do a proper thing, this is what it looks like. Oh wait, this actually kind of does fit on the screen. Shit. Kind of. Somewhat. There's nowhere to go but up now. Exactly. Okay, so my current list is this. This is my current list. Those are the 8.5s. All in order, by the way. Just for anybody who wants to know, this is all in order, and this is all the proper rankings I gave them. Yeah, top 2 are 10, then we got 1 9, we got like a few, we got like 6 8.5s, we got like 5 8s, 2 7.5s, 5 7s, a 1 6, and a bunch not finished. Actually, let me see, where's 9 not finished. So, yeah.